Today we welcome Susan Miller. Susan is a Catholic convert, wife, and homeschooling mother of 5. While she was initially resistant to learning NFP, later she came to not only embrace it, but teach it. God certainly has a sense of humor. When given the chance to help make NFP more widely available and at no cost to women or couples, she jumped at the chance and has been working for Catholic Women and Couples NFP for 4 years. When not working, she enjoys just spending time with her family and trying to keep up on archaeology news. Join us as we welcome Susan Miller to the NFP Podcast.
Welcome to the NFP Podcast, where we explore the empowering world of natural family planning. I'm Amy Smith. Join me and my co-host Emily Appledorn each week. Together we're here to dive deep into the science, the stories, and the spirituality behind NFP. Every week we push back against the free love culture and advocate for a culture of responsible love, where intentionality and respect are at the forefront of family planning. Join us as we discuss everything from the practicalities of charting and fertility awareness to the profound impact NFP can have on relationships and communities. Whether you're new to NFP or a seasoned pro, our podcast is your go-to resource for honest conversations, expert insights, and real-life experiences. So grab a friend, settle in, and get ready to be inspired. This is the NFP Podcast.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the podcast. Today, we are really excited because we have a guest on with us, Susan Miller, from a great organization that we've just discovered called the Catholic Women and Couples Natural Family Planning. And she's going to talk to us a little bit about the organization and who they are and what they do. But before we get started, welcome to the podcast, Susan.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
And let's start first with a little bit of your story. So how did you get started and find out about NFP?
So I was raised Baptist, where NFP is not talked about, at least not my Southern Baptist community. So when I converted, I'd vaguely heard of NFP. My aunt is also a convert, so I kind of vaguely knew that she used it, but I never really talked about it or anything. It wasn't until when I was going through marriage prep, when, of course, at our Engage Encounter weekend, and that was discussed. And the person there was talking about the Billings Method, which seemed kind of intriguing, and yet I really was not wanting to learn NFP. I'd been put on the pill at 17 for dysmenorrhea, menorrhagia. Not that my doctor ever tried to figure out why I was having those problems, just, hey, here's this pill. But because of that, I had a lot of fear about what it would mean if I went off, because I didn't know. I didn't know why. I didn't know what would happen or anything. And I have to admit, I was kind of put off by that talk at the Engage Encounter weekend, because, and I think this is a pitfall with some of NFP presentations, it was all the sunshine and roses. It's all great, and there's a honeymoon period, and everything's lovely. And NFP's freaking hard. So I have a love-hate relationship with it. It is definitely difficult, not my favorite thing, and yet worth it. So about a year after that, so I'd been married, just about a year, and I had been feeling more and more convicted. And finally, we had gone away on a weekend trip, and I was like, I can't do this anymore. I've got to get off the pill, whatever the cost. So again, there was that fear, but I did have a resource. My uncle is an OB. I'd never talked to him about my own problems before because that's awkward. But I asked him, hey, Uncle Jack, is there any non-hormonal, medication that could possibly help me? And he gave me some, things to talk to my doctor about. I talked to my doctor, said, look, I am going off the pill. I don't care what you say. Please help me with this. So she's like, yeah, sure, fine. We'll prescribe that. It did seem to help, at least some. Now we did go ahead and get pregnant pretty quickly after that. But yeah, when I was learning NFP though, I remember that Billings presentation, okay, that seems my style. I knew my aunt did symptothermal, and I knew that was just too much for me. I wanted to be as hands off as possible and still have an accurate method. But But so we were, poor grad school students, and we were in England because that's, where I was for grad school. And there were no NFP instructors anywhere that I knew of, not that I could find. So I actually went online with the Australians, where the Billings method was, started, and learned online from them, which, interesting time difference with that halfway across the world, but it worked. Lovely Bernadette, would, message back and forth with me pretty much every day because I had a ton of questions. I wanted, to not just do this thing, but if I was going to do it, to understand every aspect of it. So like I said, after, I don't know, a month and a half of charting, we went ahead and got pregnant, which is great. And then she worked with me through the postpartum period as well after that. That's really the only method that I have ever used. Then, I had the instructor with me from the first part of charting and then postpartum, and kept in touch with her for a while, actually.
And so you kept doing that for all 5 of your kids?
Yes.
Used NFP. Okay. And so maybe you can go into a little bit about, thank you for sharing all that. Can you go into a little bit about what the Billings Ovulation Method is? In previous episodes, we've already talked about biological markers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, so women have their temperature change, they have cervical positioning they can check for. They've obviously got cervical fluid that you can observe because that changes over the course of your menstrual cycle. So we've got, and then we have urinary metabolites, right? You
Mm-hmm.
pee on a stick and then plug it into a chart or a monitor, and then the monitor spits out information about where your hormone levels are. And then we have methods that combine, basically every method has either honed in on one of these biomarkers or has, created a method using a hodgepodge of them. So what does the Billings Ovulation Method do?
So it's a mucus only method. So only talking about the cervical mucus. What I like about it, I always joke that it's for lazy people like me because you don't need special equipment. And, more than that, like, it goes off of the sensation of the mucus more than appearance. So, that was hard for me at first. Yeah. That was hard for me at first. I'm a very visually oriented person, a very visual learner. I'm also OCD. But so for me, I had to actually force myself to chart blind for a while to figure it out and just force myself to pay attention to sensations. But once you start paying attention to that, it's like it's background noise that you always notice it, but you don't have to spend active mental energy on it. It's just like, oh yeah, okay, I noticed something different, and you go on. So for me, that's really worked well with my personality. Life is busy, 5 kids and chasing after them and homeschooling and all of that. So it's nice not to have special equipment for me. I know other people like to have that, and that's great too, that's out there for the
Right.
thermometers and monitors and everything.
Right. So what does a cycle of teaching look like for the Billings Ovulation Method? I'm familiar with Creighton. In our training, we learned about the Billings Ovulation Method because of the great impact of the founders of the Billings and the understanding of cervical mucus and interpreting those signs. But so I know that, with Creighton, I could basically say, like, over the span of a year, I could tell you, like, kind of what the follow-up schedule looks like, and that means, for those that are listening, like, how frequently you're having to meet with a teacher, or you're really, required to meet with a teacher, strongly encouraged, I should say, to meet with a teacher, or paying to meet with a teacher. So what does Billings kind of say, here's kind of your time frame of learning that you're going to be with your instructor, and then how frequently, after that, you can just kind of touch base as needed. How do you get materials? What are materials? Is there an app, etc.?
It's really individualized. So, when you first meet with your instructor, you're going to have an overview of the science behind the method, why it's working, what's going on with your body that your chart is going to tell you about, and how do you keep a chart. And then you're going to go away for 2 weeks and chart with abstinence. So for married folks, just be aware of that. Just to take away one of those variables while you're learning.
And Susan, let's touch on that for a second, actually, because I don't know if we've talked about that before in this podcast. So the 2-week window when you're starting to learn a method, especially a cervical fluid method, the reason why we suggest abstaining from intercourse during that time is because when with intercourse comes ejaculation and comes the sharing of fluids. So men have seminal fluid, women have fertile mucus. Well, during intercourse and after intercourse, you will notice that there is a fluid that's present. And that fluid, if women aren't able to, Kegel appropriately and kind of help get rid of it after an active intercourse, then it will show up when you're going to the bathroom, the same sensation as fertile mucus, right? Like you'll feel very slippery and wet. And then it also looks like fertile mucus. So it can be very confusing for a woman who's trying to learn what is my body doing by introducing what his body is doing.
Yes.
And then you bring that together. And so anyway, I just wanted to, share that.
No, exactly. So it's all to avoid confusion while you're learning what your body is doing.
Right. I feel like that rule, I mean, not to go on too much of a side tangent here, but I feel like that rule, might not be as hard and fast for couples who for a woman who already knows her body.
Oh, right.
If you know your body, then it's not really important, to do that. But if you're coming to this, having already engaged in intercourse, you're married, right? You're doing the act, and then you have no idea about your body. You've never done this. Then that is a really important beginning spot to learn, is that 2 weeks of abstinence so that you can get a hold on this.
Exactly. Like for me personally, I was just coming off the pill. I had no idea what my body normally did. And so that 2 weeks of abstinence was absolutely necessary and very difficult. So,
right.
Not the most fun part of learning, but it did give me valuable information to get my baseline and know what was my, in Billings, we call it your basic infertile pattern, just your normal, whatever your normal is.
Right. Okay, great. Thanks for touching on that.
Yeah. And I do like that Billings focuses a lot on individuality. Like every woman is different, so she's going to have her different normal, and let's figure out what yours is.
Right. All right, so let's go back to timeline. So what is the frequency of, meeting with a teacher and learning? So you got the 2 weeks of abstinence.
Right. So you meet with them after that 2 weeks, look at your chart. You'll have a review. If you've been charting, if it's a fairly straightforward cycle, then, that's easy. What I always do when I, meet with that 2 weeks, and I'll do my review and we'll go over okay, what does this word mean for you? Just kind of nailing down the language with that. But I also like to use their chart as the example. Okay, if you'd been using the method already, here's what it would have looked like. Here's where intercourse would have been available or not available and why.
Depending on your goals, right? If you're trying to achieve or avoid. Yeah. Okay.
Exactly. Okay. So depending on how that one goes, usually it's another 2 weeks later. So you can just kind of get you maybe mid-cycle and the end of the cycle with that. Right. And then after that, it's really just determined on how confident the woman is with her charting, the goals, how straightforward her cycle is and everything. I mean, if you're postpartum and cycles are crazy, then you might be meeting more frequently. If you have your textbook, 28 to 30 day cycle, then maybe it's monthly for a little bit and then space it out more as needed. I know for me, I sent messages to my instructor daily for a long time because postpartum.
Right. What is happening here?
And I have had, couples that I've taught that have been like that. And then I have some that are like, wow, you've really picked up on this quickly. And so we can move to monthly and then maybe after 2 months and then, just let me know when you need me.
Right. Okay. So there's no set follow-up schedule of we meet every 2 weeks for 3 months and then every month for 3 months and then, every 2 months or something. Okay. Yep. That's great. That's, to me, I feel like that's it's not intimidating. Okay, I have to do something very rigid. It's more whatever I need, I can meet with the instructor. So, okay, that's great. And then how about charting materials? How does one chart with the Billings?
So you can be old school and get the paper charts from the BOMA USA website, the Billings Ovulation Method USA website. I can't remember what those cost. It's not much. But there are a variety of apps out there that work specifically with the Billings method. 3 that I know of: NFP charting, Billings app, very imaginative, and Fertility Pinpoint.
Oh, okay.
Fertility Pinpoint is through the Australian website.
Oh, okay. I've never heard of that.
Yeah, so a lot of people in the U.S. Don't really use that one.
But they can. It's not
But
like
they can, yeah. I mean,
okay.
I've had people that do. And so NFP charting and Fertility Pinpoint do have a fee, like for usage. The app itself is free, and it's like it's not bad. Billings app, there is a premium version you can buy, but you don't have to. Like, it's never going to say, "Oh, your free trial ended. Now pay up." You can keep using that. So,
okay, cool. I will list all of that in the show notes for people if they're interested in it. Okay, and then how does one, if they're interested in the Billings Ovulation Method? Well, I guess, I don't know, this is not like a quiz. If you don't know off the top of your head, it's okay. But can you touch a little bit, we've touched on it in previous episodes, effectiveness ratings. How effective is Billings, at helping couples achieve and or avoid pregnancy, if you know that off the top of your head?
Yeah, I mean, it's considered, with perfect use statistics, with avoiding to be 99%, with achieving, depending on if they're subfertile, it still is going to have like over 60%, for achieving. With that, I don't know the exact statistics.
Isn't that amazing how, like, just knowing where cervical fluid is, what cervical fluid is, and its importance in helping you achieve a pregnancy, like its necessity, right, to get sperm to the eggs for fertilization, just knowing that, and having targeted intercourse, what an impact that can have on your chances of achieving is kind of mind-blowing to me.
It is.
Okay, that's great to know. Anything else before we move on to CWC NFP? Anything else about Billings that maybe I haven't thought of? How about like ages? I'm guessing. I mean, this is probably the best way to get to the age is first with medical consultants. So again with Creighton, right? They have NAPRO technology and the medical consultants. Are there health professionals that use Billings charting to help correct and identify reproductive diseases and disorders?
So occasionally you'll find doctors that are trained with Billings, but usually if we have someone who has a medical condition, we refer them to a FEM doctor.
Okay.
Because FEM came out of Billings. Right. Really, the person who created FEM had been trained by the Billings.
Oh, okay.
And so a FEM doctor can usually read a Billings chart and understand that and be able to go from there.
Oh, cool. I didn't realize that. Okay. Well, yeah, we'll also link to FEM before we've mentioned them on the podcast as well. Oh, that's great. Okay. All right. So let's move then into this organization I heard about on the Abiding Together podcast called Catholic Women Couples Natural Family Planning. What is the organization, Susan? What's kind of the mission, and what is your role at the organization?
So the mission of it, it was started by John Fitzgerald in 2021, and the mission was to really get the word out and the resources for any Catholic women and couples out there, so that they could learn NFP for free. Mm-hmm. We all know the statistics that a lot of people sitting in the pews are not using NFP, probably don't even know about it, because when's the last time you heard a sermon on NFP? So, and, if they do ask their parish or diocese for resources, maybe they have some, maybe they don't, or maybe they're expensive or whatever. So that's really the mission of it and how it started. When it started, Mr. Fitzgerald had contacted BOMA, again, Billings USA organization, and they had sent out an email to all the instructors saying, hey, this new program is starting. Anyone who wants to be a part of that, contact John Fitzgerald. So I jumped at the chance. I'd been teaching in the Diocese of St. Augustine for a while. It's required for marriage prep here, actually.
Oh, okay.
But, occasionally I was getting couples who were like, I can't afford the fee. And I would teach them anyway, because I've been there, done that. I don't want to, have that be, a barrier to anyone. But to have this be an organization where, that's the idea, like no one has to pay. Like, well, that's great. Maybe even more people will sign up to do this.
Right.
And so once I talked to John, signed on as an instructor, and then he quickly asked, like, well, I need, some more admin type things too. Would you do that? I said, yeah, sure. Why not? Now, I hate making phone calls, and that's what I was doing at first, was making cold calls to people, who had maybe responded to a Facebook ad that they would be interested in such a thing. So that was interesting. Yeah, God has a great sense of humor, and you're taking me out of my comfort zone with things.
Absolutely.
But so I was doing that for a bit, and then, as we grew and got more organized, so I've become, more of an admin than a teacher there now. So working with Estela Cordova, she's the main admin and also in charge of all of the Spanish speaking instructors and classes, which is another big thing. I love that we have all the classes available for the Hispanic population too. So she handles phenomenal. That, and then I'm handling, the English side, mainly, just helping people with, intake if they need that. I have someone working under me doing a lot of that as well, because now my main role there is to help any of those that have insurance to get in with My Catholic Doctor, because now we have this partnership with My Catholic Doctor. So going straight through Catholic Women and Couples NFP, all of our classes are the Billings Ovulation Method, which, again, that's what I've always used. That's what I like. But not everyone wants that. I understand that. I love,
and that's what the founder of CWC NFP is familiar with as well. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's what he's most familiar with as well.
Right. Okay.
So then we have this partnership with My Catholic Doctor. Anyone with eligible insurance can go through there, and still, insurance is paying for it, but they don't have any copays or anything. And then they can get Marquette or Creighton or Femme or Symptothermal, just whatever. I think they're trying to get Boston Crosscheck there too, actually.
That's excellent.
So that's my main role now, is just helping those with insurance. Like, okay, you're in this state and you have this insurance and you can see this doctor, and then, get in with that.
That's awesome. You're the organizing person, getting things moving.
Yes.
Helping coordinate stuff. So I see, CWC NFP is actually under the St. Augustine Foundation. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. So it's not a standalone nonprofit. It's it's kind of like a project of the St. Augustine Foundation. Would that be accurate to say?
Yeah, I think it's both. It's like listed as its own nonprofit now as well.
Okay.
But the St. Augustine Foundation was the original umbrella.
Gotcha.
For all of this.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Okay. So it kind of moved from being just underneath that to its own nonprofit entity by itself. Okay. Gotcha. So how does someone, if they're looking for NFP then, what would be a step forward? Obviously, they'd go to the website, ccnfp.org, and I'll list that in the show notes. And once they're there, what do they do?
So there's a contact form that they can fill out. And if they fill that out, then they are going to get an automatic email, actually, that will have our intake form. And, sometimes that goes to spam. So, be aware of that if it does. If it does go to spam, like, we pretty well know, and Allie, who works under me, will send people an individual email then with the intake form. So then they can just fill out that intake form that gives, like, the basic information, but also, why are they wanting NFP? Which method of NFP do they want? And so that we can get them started. So if they just want Billings and they don't have insurance, and they don't want to use insurance or whatever, then we'll just get them to sign up for those Billings classes through CWC NFP.
For free?
Yes, for free.
Yep.
And then if they have insurance or want a different method or something, then we'll get them sorted in that way.
Okay. With connecting with My Catholic Doctor.
Yes.
Okay, gotcha. How does learning through CWC NFP work? Are there live classes, or do you send them a link? Everything's pre-recorded. Do they meet with a teacher live? Is it group? Is it individual? What does that look like?
So everything is live over Zoom. We don't have any pre-recorded classes. I know some people would probably prefer that we did, but we don't with that. It's actually not allowed with the Billings method for us to pre-record our classes, because we want to be able to answer questions for people right there. And if they go through CWC and NFP, then that first class is a group class. That's the only group class you'll have just for that introductory class. And we keep them small. It's a maximum of 6. It's usually more like 3, so that people can still feel comfortable asking questions.
Right.
Once they have that class, then they are assigned an individual instructor, and they'll meet, one-on-one over Zoom or Google Meet or whatever their teacher likes with them until they feel confident with it. Now, if they go through My Catholic Doctor, everything is one-on-one because of HIPAA.
Right. Now, is it only, or how do I say this? I guess, so they can do English or Spanish.
Yes.
Virtually. And then is it a set, preset date, or after that first session, they just meet with that teacher one-on-one and they kind of set up their own schedule and how it's going to work?
Yeah, so we have specific days and times for that intro class so people can sign up. But then after that, it just depends. We match them with an instructor based on what they say their own schedule is. So if someone tells us, oh, I'm available Monday evenings, then we just look for which instructor has Monday evenings available. Mm-hmm. And then they'll just work with that.
Okay. Are you guys looking for, or how does someone become a teacher for CWC and NFP? Are you guys looking for teachers or?
So we're not currently looking for more teachers right now. We have trained people to become teachers, where we've paid for their teacher training, and then they've worked it off by teaching for us.
Okay.
In that way. Right now, we don't have any openings. I'm hoping that we will in the future as we continue to grow.
Oh, that's great. Okay. And just as an aside for those that aren't familiar, although we've talked about it before, My Catholic Doctor, that you can find, what she's saying is that you can have a doctor on there that is familiar, that knows an NFP method, and you can also find a teacher on there. Because oftentimes doctors don't do the teaching of charting, for people that don't know that, because the teaching of charting is a little bit more time intensive. Mm-hmm. And so doctors are more trained to read the chart, interpret the chart, and do the medical side of it. And so these doctors that are on mycatholicdoctor.com who are trained to read and interpret charting and female cycle patterns work with teachers who are trained to teach you the method. And that's what we're saying you can find on My Catholic Doctor that can be covered by insurances that are accepted through My Catholic Doctor and different doctors on there. So that's a really amazing option, because definitely when I started, this is all new, everyone. This was not around even just 10 years ago, all of these great things. Yeah. And CWC NFP is very new, right? 2021?
21. Mm-hmm.
2021, yeah. So how amazing. Yeah. Just really great work. And they are a nonprofit, as we mentioned. So I will link, of course, to their website. Feel free to go on. If you don't need the help and you have been helped through NFP, please donate, be generous, so that this work can continue.
Yes, please.
It's pretty amazing. I mean, it's just absolutely amazing what's happening. So great. Okay. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I guess, who is it for? Is it for just Catholic couples, in their pre-K years, or is it Catholic couples who are married and looking for NFP? Is it for non-Catholics? Is it for single women? Who's it for?
So, Catholic Women Couples NFP was created specifically for Catholic women, any women 18 and up. So we get single women, engaged women, women who've been married for years and they're postpartum or they're perimenopausal or whatever. So directly through CWC NFP is just for those Catholic women ages 18 and up, any stage of life with that. But because of this partnership with My Catholic Doctor, we can open it up to non-Catholics as well, and even adolescents, as long as a parent is present at those appointments with the teenager. Then, which I think is great because, I know my sister and I both had issues. She had endometriosis, I had adenomyosis. I have 3 daughters, and I'm hoping they won't need any, interventions or anything. But I love that there's this resource that I have available just in case.
Oh, yeah, I know. The women, it's so funny. I think women in our generation now, while maybe we didn't have it, obviously, when we were growing up, we are so much more knowledgeable. It's like our daughters are at such an advantage because we are more knowledgeable. And I think it's just going to keep getting better and better as generations go, because then the girls that are
Yes.
learning it when they're little, they kind of don't know any different. And so when then they
Exactly.
become moms and they teach their daughters, it just kind of keeps cycling
I think
through.
my 14-year-old could teach this by now, actually, because she's
Right.
listened to me enough.
Right. I remember hearing an NFP teacher talk about, having, this is way back in like the 80s when they started, or early 90s. And she was at home with, all the paper charts and, all the stickers that go on the chart to help you track your signs and observations. And her little baby boy was on the floor playing with the baby stickers and the color-coded stickers and putting them all over the walls.
Oh, yeah.
Gosh, yeah, how times have changed, and so fast, thanks be to God, like with technology, how quickly things can change for the better. So it's all like super encouraging and good news. So, okay, great. So we got a great free resource we can offer to parishes, to dioceses looking to incorporate NFP in their marriage prep programs, just to have great resources for their married couples who are looking for help in this department. Anything specific on the website you'd like to mention that's available for free as far as the resources go or information?
Oh, goodness, I can't even think.
I saw something on there about courses. Is that like an actual course they have? Like, you guys have something about like pornography and sexual morality.
Right. And we're trying to develop more on, the theological side of things as well, working with a theologian who's trying to put together courses like that. And those are all pre-recorded that are on there.
Okay. Yeah, I saw that you guys have Dr. Peter Kaplonis on there talking about pornography, his course. We had him on the podcast a little while ago. Yeah, he's phenomenal. So that's awesome. Yeah, I'll link to these course resources too. There's just two. There's one on sexual morality and one on pornography. But they're courses you could do at home. If you're a homeschooling parent, you could look into incorporating something like this for your high schoolers maybe as well. So anyway, okay, this is great. I will link all this information and these resources below. Anything else you can think of, Susan, that we haven't covered?
Goodness, I can't think of anything.
Okay, great. Thank you for sharing your personal story and everything with the Billings method, as well as all the great things that CWC NFP is doing. If anyone has any more questions or information, I'll link to all those things again in the show notes, and you can reach out to Susan through the CWC NFP website, get in touch with them. And again, they have English and Spanish full offerings for people that are looking to learn NFP. So thank you so much, Susan, for being on the podcast. I really appreciate your time today.
No, thank you.
All right, take care.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.
That wraps up another episode of the NFP Podcast. Thank you so much for joining us today. We hope you found our discussion enlightening and empowering. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. We'd love to hear from you. Please connect with us by sending us an email with your questions and stories to thenfpshow@gmail.com. We'll be back next week with more insights, tips, and heartfelt conversations about natural family planning. Until then, love responsibly.